Russian officials say Ukrainian helicopters have carried out a strike on a fuel storage facility in the west of Russia. Emergency services say 170 personnel are trying to put out the flames in Belgorod. Ukraine hasn't commented, but Ukrainian aircraft haven't previously struck targets in Russia. The Kremlin says the attack will hinder peace talks with Kyiv. Well, I'm joined now by Jenny Hill in Moscow. Jenny, how much have we got that's verified about this incident?
We can't verify it at this stage. We have this morning the governor of the region of Belgorod saying that, as far as he's concerned, 2 Ukrainian military helicopters crossed the border overnight and carried out airstrikes on that fuel depot. Interestingly, the Kremlin hasn't really confirmed as such the suspicion that this was a Ukrainian airstrike. But as you say, Dmitry Peskov, the spokesman, has said the situation will not create comfortable circumstances for the ongoing peace talks. They've resumed, of course, this afternoon in an online format. So no official confirmation. But this is, as you say, the very first time since the invasion began that Russia has reported a Ukrainian attack on its territory. And what I think is interesting is that the Russian response thus far has actually been really rather muted, surprisingly so, given that this country, the Kremlin, usually seizes on any opportunity to portray Ukraine as an aggressor. So we've heard from the governor of the neighbouring region, which also borders Ukraine. He said earlier that he would put his security forces on a heightened state of alert. But beyond that, all we've really had from the Kremlin is this warning that, this could jeopardise peace talks. But actually, even the language there is still rather passive. Having said that, of course, it's not going to do any good in terms of trying to dampen down tensions between the two countries as those negotiations continue this afternoon.
Yes, and Jenny, the words there saying that it doesn't make for a comfortable backdrop for negotiations. Is there any indication of what this might mean? As you say, it's still rather muted language.
Yeah, I think, it doesn't help, put it that way. But it's interesting that the Russians haven't really gone hell for leather. Some of the language that we have seen here in recent weeks, even recent days since the negotiations broke up earlier this week, has been so belligerent. Moscow regularly accuses Ukraine of, with the help of America, preparing biological weapons to use against Russia. This is a narrative that runs even in, state newspapers yesterday, and some even this morning I saw, still carrying this as a line. So it is interesting that the language has been muted. Now, I wouldn't draw the conclusion from that the Russians are thinking let's keep our response down for now so that the negotiations can continue, amidst a more peaceful atmosphere this afternoon. I think it's more likely they're still trying to establish exactly what has happened, because, of course, we still don't have the verification that this was a Ukrainian attack, before they perhaps decide on their response. There is also a school of thought that, having boasted that the Russians have achieved air superiority over Ukraine, if it's proven that this was a successful attack on Russian territory by Ukrainian military helicopters, that might prove to be rather a humiliating development for the Russians. That might be, another argument behind the rather muted response thus far. Speculation on my part. We'll have to wait and see if the Kremlin makes any further comments.